Pete Hoekstra, Charlie Angus here, just a boy from Northern Canada. But I did want to talk to you about your constant gaslighting of our people and our nation. You say we're anti-American. No, Pete, we're not anti-American. We're anti-authoritarianism. We believe that it's wrong to be able to kidnap people off the streets. We are repulsed by a president who brags about feeding people to alligators. We think it's a stain on democracy that you have a convicted felon in the White House who's so narcissistic and thin-skinned that he thinks he should have the right to fire comedians off TV because he doesn't like what they're doing. Speaking of thin-skinned, Pete, why are you so freaked out about the term elbows up? It's just a hockey expression. In fact, it was starting to die out until you announced that you were really offended by it because it was somehow a threat to the Americans. Well, it comes from the great Gordie Howe. He was a great hockey player, real class act. The thing about Gordie is that you were going to try and get in the corners with him and get the better of him. Well, you'd be counting your teeth once Mr. Elbows went into action. Now, don't take that as a threat. Honest to God. I mean, we haven't even used terms like dropping the gloves yet. We haven't talked about coach sending us over the boards. And God help you, Pete, if it comes to the moment where we've got to pull the jersey over your head. Now, the other thing that's concerning me is you're freaked out that we've politely talked about a trade war. Well, here's the thing. Your president, Donald Trump, says copper from Canadian mines represents a national security threat to the United States. Your president, Donald Trump, says lumber from Canadian mills represents a national security threat. Now, I looked up the term national security threat. You know, it refers to acts of international terrorism, threats to national infrastructure, targeting of public places for violence. And yet you'd use that language about Buddy going down to the Home Depot in Arkansas to buy some 2x4s? But you see, this is the kind of ramped up language that MAGA has been using to demonize Canada. Like FBI Director Kash Patel saying we're flooding the border with Canadian terrorists. That Kristi Noem says that our border represents a security threat to the safety of individual Americans. That your government has targeted a Canadian jurist who sits on the International Criminal Court. Well, we believe in the international rule of law, whether or not Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Vladimir Putin do. Too bad, Pete, but we're going to continue to stand up for that. Now, I guess I shouldn't be expecting too much. You know, I read your biography, Pete. It's on Wikipedia. It's pretty brutal. I'm wondering how you got the job. I mean, maybe that's why you're so against diversity, equity, inclusion. I don't know. I mean, if there were qualified Black, Hispanic, and women candidates, would you have gotten the job? Or are you the kind of guy that Donald Trump wants there? I don't know. But here's the thing that bothers me, Pete. You're from Dutch background, right? And Canadians and the Dutch people have a very, very sacred relationship because so many of our young people lie in the fields of Holland where they're looked after and commemorated for their sacrifice. You know, I looked up the town where you're from, Groningen, and the Canadians sacrificed to free your relatives. It was a horrific cost. Didn't your parents teach you anything? If not, I'll give you a quick lesson. I mean, people were starving in that spring of 1945, and the Canadians were desperate to get through to help people. And to get into Groningen, there were so many refugees there that the Canadians decided not to use the necessary air cover and artillery to protect our soldiers because we didn't want to create civilian casualties. So it meant that our boys had to go in and move out the sniper nests of the SS and the Panzer Grenadiers. You know, they talk about the Battle of Ortona as being Canada's little Stalingrad. We lost 5 times as many in Groningen. 5,000 Canadians lie in the fields of Holland to free your people. And we did that because we believed that it was our job to fight against tyranny. And when it was done, those men came home to build a better nation. So no, Pete, you don't get to tell us how to use the term elbows up. You don't get to push us around because we come from a long line of fascist fighters. And I'll end it here. The next time you get up in public and start talking about how mean and nasty Canadians are, you just thank your lucky stars that the Fort Garry Horse, the British Columbia Dragoons, the Regiment de Maisonneuve, the Canadian Highlanders from the Black Watch and the Calgary Highlanders were as mean and nasty as they were. Otherwise, you'd still be under the fascist jackboot. And Canadians, we don't intend to be under anybody's jackboot ever. So, Pete, It's going to be elbows up all the time. And here's another thing. Put your mittens on. I can feel a cold wind blowing in from the north right now.